Mushoku Tensei is just bloody brilliant. And not only that, but it's absolutely devastating. If you watched this last episode or the last episode of the season, you saw what happened. And of course, obviously, this will contain spoilers. But Rudeus connects with his father. They save Roxy, and they finally find his mother, Zenith. And when I tell you that this was one of the most dark and depressing episodes I've ever seen, it was. And I'm not a big Paul fan. I mean, I think he's a jerk. I think he's a horrible person. But it's kind of like the point of Mushoku Tensei, right? It's very similar to another anime or an animation that I really love called BoJack Horseman. The protagonists are almost identical. And the meaning and the message that they give is that it's pointless to try. Because no matter what you do, you'll never be able to achieve happiness. You'll never be able to get happiness. And if you ever find a way to get it, you can't sustain it. It won't last. And so what happens is Paul and Rudeus and the rest of the party, they find Zenith, and she's being guarded by a Hydra, which is like a multi-headed dragon. And they first go and they just get their butts whooped. But then they figure out a way to actually start to beat the dragon, which is you simply have to sever one of the heads and then burn it immediately. And so they're doing this, and they start to defeat the dragon, and they're getting the upper ground. And then I've heard some people say that it was Rudeus's fault. And I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, Rudeus is not a combat person. You know what I mean? He is a mage. He uses magic. He specializes in long distance fighting. But Rudeus is not paying attention. We'll say that at the very least. And Paul has to sacrifice himself to save Rudeus. Now my thought is, this is kind of like I feel like it's a common plot hole where people push and kick people out of the way when they could have simply grabbed them or tackled them and used their momentum to keep rolling. But Paul pushes Rudeus out of the way, and then he ends up getting basically unalived. And that by itself is devastating, because before Rudeus realizes that happened, he actually lost one of his arms, his left arm. So Rudeus goes from thinking that he's defeated the dragon to realizing that he defeated it at the cost of his arm, and then at the cost of his arm and his father. And then ultimately, if you watch the entire episode, Mushoku Tensei is brilliant in how they do this with the music and the endings and the openings. They used to do the opening credits with new images over it, but now for this episode, they did the ending credits. And when you get to the very end, you realize that Zenith now no longer has her memories. She's no longer able to communicate. So he loses both of his parents and his arm. And I'm sure he has this horrifying look on his face. And it's like, what was the point of it all? And it's just so devastating. And it's just the absolute brilliance of the writing of Mushoku Tensei. People can have issues with it. I get it, but there's just not writing. There's not much writing that's on the level of Mushoku Tensei. I feel like from the end of the fight to the end where we find out that Zenith has lost her memories and is not unable to communicate, that little stretch, how it's handled, how it's done, is handled brilliantly. Because some of it is done with credits rolling, no talking, just simply like we can see what's happening. It's almost like B-roll or a montage. And it's just brilliant. I mean, the walk down the hallway afterwards, the steps, the sound of the steps and the silence, it's just so impactful. It's next level, and it was completely devastating. It was completely devastating. I knew what was going to happen because I've done some lives on Mushoku Tensei, and I've had some people who are really into Mushoku Tensei and have read the light novels and the manga. And so I was, I don't want to say I was spoiled, because I don't feel like spoiled. And this is why I don't feel spoiled, because I knew what was going to happen, and seeing it actually happen, it was still devastating. Mushoku Tensei is next level. It is one of the best anime out. I don't know what to say. I feel like there's lots of characters that you're not designed to like them. I don't see how someone can still not like Rudeus, but if you can get past Rudeus, the story is well worth it, because Mushoku Tensei is peak writing.